Hey, Rob, actually, before I start, I'm going to rename you in this thing because it has Sherry there. So hold on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, it's okay. Just a second. This takes 2 seconds and then we're going to roll. Let's rename you. How about Rob Butler? That's a good name.
Perfect.
From Newfoundland. All right, here we go.
The guy that won Canada's Got Talent is from my hometown, Butlerville, Newfoundland.
Okay. That's a mind blow. I'm only sorry I didn't capture it on the on the recording. All right, here we go. Quiet on the set. Let's rock and roll here.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1693. 93 World Series champions in 93 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Yes, we are open. An award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM El Grego. Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. Ayami Sato pitches this Sunday at 2 p.m. at Christie Pitts. I'll be there. To be discussed. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Iones, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management, Inc. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, returning to Toronto Mic'd. It's 1993 World Series champion, Rob Butler. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing fantastic. Can I just say something about the lasagna from Thomas?
Talk slowly though, because I'm gonna close my eyes and envision that you had invited me over to eat it with you. Go ahead.
Oh my God, it's so good. We are just loving this lasagna. We're going to get more tomorrow, actually. Apparently there's a sale on, and we will be, I think we're going to be front of the line, man.
This sale, I've been hearing about it. I think it's 2 large lasagnas for $40 or something. Is it? What is it? It's a great deal.
Deal of a lifetime. So our kids are all like, you need to get us more lasagna. So me and Sherry are heading out there to get it.
Okay, shout out to Sherry Butler, who I've seen her a couple times in the past week. Don't get nervous, Rob. It was professional.
Oh, I'm never nervous. Sherry's a consummate professional, man. She is bang on every time. She's amazing.
She is amazing. And so shout out to Palma Pasta. If you were here in person, Rob, I'd be giving you a large lasagna from Palma Pasta.
Oh, you can always send it through the mail.
I'll give it to Elvis and he'll drop it off.
Oh, yes, please give it to Elvis. I just saw him this morning. Yeah. He's good.
Okay, and you're still coaching Elvis's son?
Yeah, Charlie's coming to the camp. He's getting big. He's hitting home runs now. He's going to be a fantastic baseball player. Maybe a Maple Leaf one day.
Okay, well, that would be amazing. Hopefully you're still managing the team when he gets there.
Yeah, hopefully I'm managing the team after Sunday. We'll go one game at a time.
Okay, so I have questions for you.
Yeah.
But right off the top, I'm going to remind the listenership that if you did visit the basement, so this is not, obviously you're not in the basement right now. People can tell by your fidelity here, but you were here for episode 1458, and I'm just going to read the description because people can go find that 90-minute deep dive with Rob Butler, because this is going to be something different. This is going to be time-sensitive questions I'm going to ask you, but here's what I wrote at the time. Mike chats with Rob Butler about growing up in East York with his brother Rich, playing for the Toronto Blue Jays and winning the 1993 World Series, retiring from Major League Baseball as a Blue Jay, playing in the IBL, managing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and more. So that's the go-to. How was that experience for you, Rob?
All of it, or the Maple Leaf part?
No, just being in this basement for your 90-minute episode.
Oh my God, that was amazing. It was made for me. I didn't have to actually bend down to get in there. I would imagine people who are 5'9" have a little bit harder time. But no, it was wonderful being there, man. I would definitely come back and do it again in the basement. It's actually more fun to do it, more fun to do it with you there in person.
Oh yeah. So next time you're on Toronto Mike, will it be in person?
100%.
Okay.
Definitely. The only way I want to do it.
That's the way I want to hear it. Now, your brother Rich, quick question. So he made his Toronto Mike debut. It was episode 1517, but he wasn't in the basement. I actually recorded live from a Toronto Maple Leafs baseball game at Christie Pitts, and I'll just read who was on that show. So I was joined by Mike Richards, Rich Butler, your brother, Blair Packham, Mark Weisblot, Joel Goldberg, Robert Lawson, the VP of Sales, and Maya, the mascot, who I saw last Sunday at Christie Pitts. So if people, a couple of quick questions about you and Rich, like which of you two were the better Toronto Blue Jays, and which of you two had the better Toronto Maple Leafs career, you and Rich?
Oh, that's a hard one. We would tell everyone that he made me better, and he'd tell everyone that I made him better. So it's just one of those brotherly love things. We were so competitive when we were young that we made each other major leaguers, really. So, but I would say I had a longer time with the Blue Jays, so I was better. I mean, I think I got maybe 5 or 6 more hits out of I think we both got 50 something hits in the majors. So we got about 100 hits combined. His were I think he had 9 home runs. I didn't hit any home runs, but he had about 9 home runs. So I'd say he's a better baseball player overall than me. Rich was more of a power player, you know what I mean? A cannon of an arm in right field, home runs, steal bases. Where I kind of just tricked everybody into keeping me around. You know, I could bunt, I could do little things that kind of helped us. I had a great attitude, you know what I mean? I cheered everybody on, first guy to give high fives, you know, that kind of thing. I was a good teammate.
You were great. And what about for the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team? Who had the better IBL career, you or Rich?
Well, the first year we played there together, he hit a lot more home runs than me. I think he hit about 16, and I had, I think, 4 or 5. But I hit 488, minus the 75 points Jack deducted because he didn't want us hitting over 500 in the league. He actually took hits away, which is actually funny. I went 14 for 15 at one point, and my batting average went down, which is obviously not possible. So the funny thing, Rich complained about it, and Jack told him, we can't have anybody coming here hitting 500 because whatever reason Jack wanted to make. So Rich did that the first year, and won the MVP of the league. And the next year, I hit 16 home runs with a lower 14 home runs with a lower batting average. So I would say he was like a nose better than me. You know, we finished at the wire. He's like a nose better than me. But we were so equal in so many different ways that I got to call it a tie.
Love it. Very diplomatic of you. Now, is it still competitive between you two? Like, are you guys still just have that natural competitive instinct when you guys chat or hang out in 2025?
I think it's more about who's healthy that day or not. It's not about anything baseball. Hey man, how's your knee? Oh, my knee's good today. How's your knee? Oh, my knee's bad tomorrow. It's one of those things where we're now comparing injuries, and whether or not we can walk into Starbucks together and enjoy a coffee in one piece and have a good peace of mind. I think the baseball stats have kind of disappeared in that competitiveness. We used to race everything. We would race to the car. We would race to the beach. Yeah. We would race. You know what I mean? We would try to outrun each other everywhere we went. It was funny that that natural competitive spirit was always with me and my brother. And if anybody wanted to know, Rich actually did beat me up one day. So I melted off a little too hard once, and he got me good. And I learned to never melt off to Rich Butler ever again.
You learned a valuable lesson there.
I did.
Well, you know, so Rob, I know you know this. Like, we've hung out a bunch of times since your debut here in the basement. But like, you know, I'm here very interested in like Toronto history and capturing these like definitive Toronto stories. And I hope you realize that you and Rich, East York legends, you two are a key part of like Toronto sports history. I just hope you guys have like a sense of your place in it all. And if people are ignorant or unaware, they should listen to more Toronto Mic'd episodes where we shine a light on these stories. So kudos to you and Rich for representing East York.
No, thank you. Yeah, we came from a small place in Toronto, a little part of Toronto, and we're lucky where we grew up. Where we grew up is what made us, right? We were dirtbag kids and out in the dirt every single day and hoping the sun would stay up 24 hours a day and, you know, living the dream with our, you know, tennis ball, hockey stick. We didn't, you know, when we were really young, we didn't have gloves. We just played everything with our bare hands.
Right. And
ultimately we made it to the majors together. So, but it really was our whole family. My mom and dad were amazing. They supported us and the best they could and, you know, made sure we were good at what we did.
But like the odds of you both making the majors, forget playing for the Blue Jays, right? The home team, but the odds of you both playing Major League Baseball upon birth were astronomical.
Yeah, not supposed to happen for sure. No, nobody. People just make fun of us for playing baseball. That's how hard it was, even in our neighborhood. What are you playing baseball for? And it was just in our blood, man. And you know what? We did make some of the impossible come true. Like we're the only brothers that have ever played for the Blue Jays in their whole history, I believe. I can't find any other brothers that have ever done it when you think about it.
Yeah.
So it's something that was an amazing accomplishment for us. But we don't, I think it's because our dad kept us in check. If we went out of line, Frank Butler was right there to make sure that, the boys stayed in their lane. You know what I mean? So we weren't allowed to do anything kind of that would have steered us down the bad road. He was a real good mentor for living right.
Well, you're lucky to have had him, because without him, possibly you end up going the route of the snowman. And don't even comment on that, because that's a teaser for what I'm going to hit you with later in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Don't even comment. Okay.
I know where you're going. That's true. Very true.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. By the way, another Toronto legend whose story is wild and inspiring, and it's a whole different vibe than the Butler story. Hey, before I press record, you mentioned something about Butlerville. We always got to shout out Butlerville. This is in Newfoundland, right? This is where your people are from. What was that fun fact about somebody from Butlerville?
Yeah, Canada's Got Talent, Jacob Lewis from Butlerville, Newfoundland, where my family is from. My dad's from there. Actually, legitimately now is on the map because he, Shania Twain and all these, and Howie Mandel. Now they know Butlerville exists, and he won Canada's Got Talent, won the $1 million, and another superstar from Butlerville. Man, it's amazing.
That makes three.
Three out of 100 people. It's pretty good.
All right, let's get to what I witnessed on Mother's Day last Sunday, okay? So I'll speak for myself, and then I got specific questions for you as the not only as the manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team, but as a former Major League Baseball player yourself. Okay, so firstly, what a vibe at Christie Pitts for that home opener on Sunday. I had a bunch of people out for TMLX 18, and I got to say that was a big crowd. That was just a rad vibe, and kudos to the whole organization for giving us like a big Toronto event and didn't even charge for the tickets.
Yeah, I know. Really an unbelievable experience for all of us, everyone involved. For Keith making it happen from the very beginning, to me making sure it happens while we're on the field, to my wife Sherry, who organized a lot of what went on that day. She's kept everybody organized and in place and doing the right thing, getting all the people there. So it really was a huge team effort, right? For everyone, for the organization, for Sato to come in and feel comfortable and welcomed, for something that she was going to do that was unbelievably difficult under the circumstances, right? And even more the circumstances of what she went through before the game even started. Well, that would have wore any human down.
Yeah, maybe I'll pick it up and then we'll get back, because obviously I want to cover Sunday and then talk about next Sunday, and I have other questions. But like I was on the field before the game. So the game was scheduled for 2 p.m. last Sunday, and there's another game this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. at Christie Pitts. So I was on the field. I brought my two youngest kids on the field with me just so they could like soak it in. And I look around, right? So I see, okay, there's Olivia Chow, Mayor of Toronto. There's Diane Sachs, who's not only a friend and client, but she for that ward, she's the city councillor. I see the Japanese consulate is on the field. There's cameras everywhere. And there is the starting pitcher, Ayami Sato, on the field getting gifts and, talking a little bit. And she's got a pitch in 5 minutes. That's like, can you imagine, like, I don't know, Jack Morris on the field doing like chatting up whatever the press and stuff when he's on that mound in 5 minutes? Like, that's an amazing thing that happened with Ayami Sato, who, just so the listenership knows, in case because I assume stuff but obviously not everybody knows. Ayami Sato on Sunday became the first woman to play professional men's baseball in Canada. That happened on Sunday. So I got a lot of questions about this, but I'm here to tell you what a big deal it was to be on that field with, the consulate, Olivia Chow, and Sato herself. Wild.
Unbelievable. She was able to be out of her routine completely, because every baseball player, any athlete has a routine. You have a routine. Everybody has their routines, right? And for her being where she's from and how hard she's worked, she for sure has a rigorous routine that gets her ready. And to be there with the mayor and everybody speaking a language that she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know what the heck they're saying about her. So it was, unless her translator was right there with her, working with her the whole time.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that would have been overwhelming for most people. And Jack Morris would have said, "You're a bunch of garbage collectors. I'm not doing this for you. Stay away from me. You want to pitch."
I have a job to do. I got a job to do, and I'm going to be warming up and getting in the zone. But she was a champ.
She was amazing. From the minute she's gotten to Toronto, she's been amazing. Her energy, her smile, her happiness, her excitement to play baseball. Really knowing what it's like to be like. It was like a Wayne Gretzky moment, man. Wayne Gretzky has all this pressure and still goes out and wins the game for you. You know what I mean? The Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team needs someone like this to go up and do what she's called upon to do, right? So it was amazing that she was able to do what she did. It was I'm so happy that I was a part of it, and I'm so glad it worked out the way it did for all the fans, and they got to see someone do something spectacular and love baseball. It was really about loving baseball more.
Well, she rose to the occasion, and all eyes were on. I mean, there was a big crowd for last year's home opener as well, and she wasn't there for that. But it was a big crowd, but a lot of those people were obviously interested to see Ayami Sato. By the way, before I proceed, Sato or Sato?
Well, I keep saying Sato, and I keep being told to say Sato.
I think it's Sato. You know why I think that?
Why?
Well, FOTM Hall of Famer is Cam Gordon, is married to a CBC reporter who did a piece for The National on her. And she, who I will only refer to as MF, you'll have to Google to get the real name. I think I signed a contract to say I do that. But MF said Sato. So I figured, the CBC would make sure to get it right. And I now have switched from Sato to Sato.
Okay, so I'll switch to Sato.
Yeah, follow my lead. Listen, I am the correspondent for CNN. I need to say these things properly.
Yes, you are. That was amazing to see you on CNN. I can't believe you got there. Like that, what an accomplishment that was.
Well, thank you for the text, because I'm always shocked when somebody sees it in real time on CNN. Like, who is tuned into CNN at I don't know what that was, 6:30 in the morning, but the Butlers are.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the first thing we do in the morning: coffee and then CNN. Sadly, what a sad life, but that's what we do for fun.
Doesn't sound sad to me, man. It sounds kind of neat. Like you get your coffee, you're with your loved ones, you tune in to find out what's going on, and next thing you know, Toronto Mike is on the screen.
It was a bit of a shock, but I was happy because you had your Leaf shirt on. It was great. I mean, wow, worldwide, the Leafs are known now.
Taking you global. Okay, here's questions for you. Okay, was the plan always to have her pitch 2 innings, or were you going to play that a bit by ear and look at the pitch count, etc.?
No, it was always to go 2 innings. We had our lineup set for the guys we were bringing in after, and we kind of wanted to get everybody in working. And it was also a safety mechanism, just so that there wasn't an overwhelming. Like she felt good knowing she's going to have to worry about 2 innings. I think sometimes when you join a team, you think, "Oh my God, like what are the expectations of me?" So she didn't have to worry about throwing 5 innings. She had to try to win the game because it puts more pressure. So it was easier to say, you got 2 innings of work in and you're done.
Okay. Now, as you know, because you're manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team, those 2 innings, this is extremely efficient. Yeah. Like Sato pitched, she threw 15 pitches or something like that. Do you know what the number was?
14.
14. Okay. See, I'm shortchanged. Okay. She retired the side in order in that first inning on 5 pitches.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really was. It was like goosebump material. Like I was looking around going, we knew we were hoping it'd be good, but we didn't think it would be this good. I mean, she showed that the pitchers had to field properly. She did a perfect PFP where the balls hit to her, and she made a perfect throw to first base, like step and throw, did everything the way you're supposed to. Amazing. Like the whole thing was amazing. It was incredible. Well, that was a hug after I gave her a massive hug and picked her up and was like, man, that was incredible. Thank you. I thanked her for doing what she did. It was incredible.
So that first pitch, which was kind of a historic moment, because yes, there are instances where women have played professional baseball against men, but not in Canada. Like this was a first. And I mean, we were witnessing that live, and that first pitch was like a little nibbler that she, like you said, she fielded cleanly and then threw to first, just executed it perfectly, like you're taught as like in Little League. It's like, okay, that was perfect. And then you're like, Wow, like one pitch, one softly hit ball that she fields and throws to first. 5 pitches in total to go to retire the side in the first inning. She only throws 14 pitches over 2 innings. Extremely efficient, but you were only going to pitch her 2 innings, so 14 and out might be the shortest shutout ball by a starter that in history.
Yeah, it's probably pretty close. I don't know very many men who've been able to do that. Certainly the guys who came in after weren't able to do it. So
No.
anybody who had doubts about her pitching on the team, coming to the team, I think she definitely showed them that, she's the real deal. Because I know there was some doubts. Obviously, I had doubts that day. I was listening to old men tell me beside the park, "What are you doing? Why is she pitching?" And I was like, "Because she's good." And you're about to find out how good she is. And luckily for me, it worked out. Because there were some naysayers. Of course, there's going to be naysayers. There's naysayers in everything in sports. It doesn't matter who you are. There's going to be naysayers, and you got to prove them wrong. Being an athlete is about proving people wrong a lot. So, and she did that. So it was good to see.
Well, let's get into that because proof is in the pudding, which is she struck out one, she threw to 6 batters, 6 up, 6 down. So that happened. Okay, I witnessed it. This is real. And she's pitching this Sunday. So quick question about this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. when she starts again. Is she getting just 2 innings, or are you going to go a little longer and stretch her out a bit?
So it's going to become more of a normal game where we'll stretch her out a little longer for sure. If everything goes the way it kind of did, we don't expect it to be like that, obviously. We're not saying you got to do it in 13 pitches now. But if she keeps her pitch count down and keeps guys off the bases and limits the runs and the damage, we'll keep her going for about 4 or 5 innings if we can. But that'll be it. We'll get the other guys in working again because it's still so early in the season. And we need to see some guys. Other guys also need to get their work in, get comfortable with the mound and the park, and new guys that are on the team. So, we'll stretch her out more and see how it goes.
Okay, and in a moment, I'll make an exciting announcement about what else we can expect on Sunday beyond my presence, because I'm going to be there, man. I'm all in.
Good.
I'm all in on the Maple Leafs and Sato.
We need your energy there.
Well, I'll be there, man. I'll be there. Okay, so when you speak to Ayami Sato, are you speaking to her translator and then the translator speaking to Ayami, or do you speak directly to her? I'm curious how that dynamic works because English, she's not fluent in English.
Both. I'm speaking to her and to her translator. It depends if the translator is close by.
Yeah.
One thing that I hoped would happen when she came out the field in the second inning, I wanted her to tip her cap to the crowd, right? Do a little curtain call. But she didn't understand what I was saying. So I tried to demonstrate, but she still didn't get it.
Right.
So I think she was so excited about the moment. So we missed that moment. But I try to keep it as plain baseball as I can. You know what I mean? So, and she knows the key words, finish out front, make sure you're smooth, don't overthrow. She knows those words. So it's okay for baseball lingo.
And how is she with her teammates? Like, both ways. Like how is she with? Obviously, all of her teammates are men, obviously, and I'm wondering how these professional baseball players are with her. Like, how has that relationship seemed to you?
Well, I see it growing more now. Obviously, she did prove herself, but she came in with very limited time with the team, with the boys. So, for the guys who were, for the first time going to play on the same team as a girl at this high a level, it was probably unusual for them. And they would have been stepping back and saying, well, let's see if she's able to do it. So I think that definitely after the first inning, everybody was tuned in. I mean, like, wow, this is like, she's good. This isn't a joke. This isn't a PR deal, right? So it was good, man. So she definitely proved that she belongs. And, with your teammates, even you got to be able to prove that you belong there because they want to win, right? And whether you're a man or a woman, they want players that are going to help them win. So she's proven that she belongs here and it's going to help us.
Now, she throws a lot of I'll call it not junk, but she throws this curve so she's not, but did she throw any fastballs? I couldn't tell from my vantage point with the FOTMs and attendance from beyond left field, but does she throw any of her fastballs?
Oh yeah, I would say primarily she's throwing fastballs.
Is she okay? Because I just wonder. She tops out what in like the early 80s, 80 miles an hour or so.
I would say more mid to low 70s now.
Okay.
I don't think her arm is as strong as it used to be.
Okay.
She definitely wasn't throwing 80 there. She was definitely probably 74, 75. But this is the thing, right? Again, it's a lesson on it's not always velo. It's being able to keep the ball down, make the ball move, make it move sideways on a two seam or a sinker, right? Hitters don't like that. Hitters like straight fastball. You could throw a fastball 200 miles an hour straight, and a hitter would rather that than a 75-mile-an-hour fastball moving sideways. So it's just, she's able to move the ball and move it away from their sweet spot. And they'll make contact, but they can't make hard contact. That's the beauty of it. When I played with Mark Eichhorn, Mark Eichhorn never threw a baseball over 80 miles an hour. He, basically almost won 2 ERA titles in the majors. Never threw a pitch over 80 miles an hour. Hard to hit because he moved the ball so much.
No, that's a great point. And then I'm thinking of like the 1990s version of Frank Tanana.
Yeah, Frank Tanana was probably even more effective once he, learned that he could actually hit guys out throwing a 65-mile-an-hour curveball. Right? It was so frustrating to hit those kind of guys.
Do you, Rob Butler, former Major League Baseball player, do you think a woman could play Major League Baseball? Could Ayami Sato pitch for the Blue Jays?
She could not pitch for the Blue Jays. No, that's going a little way above all our skis right now. Definitely not. They would be able to adjust quicker to her. I think down the road, someone with a little bit more velo, a woman is definitely going to throw 85 miles an hour. That's coming. And her to be able to change speeds, say a 75-mile-an-hour changeup, like real good two seam, something that's moving. Yes, it could happen.
It could happen. You heard it here first. Now, I was thinking, okay, we need a woman who can throw a nasty knuckleball. What's happened to the knuckleball, man? We all grew up with like Phil Niekro, right? Where the Niekros and I'm thinking of Charlie Huff and some of these knuckleballers. I feel like a woman who's got a good knuckleball could have a great career in the major leagues.
Yeah, anybody with a good knuckleball can have a career in the majors. That's one pitch that anybody could throw. I mean, I think Phil Niekro was 105 for the last 10 years of his major league career. I'm pretty sure. Man, the guy had grayer hair than everybody when he was pitching for the Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah.
So he's an old man. But it doesn't matter. That ball moves and dances. And, some of those guys like Tim Wakefield, the Niekro brothers. I played with a couple knuckleballers when I was in AAA as well. And they were really effective because they have no idea where it's going. Nobody knows where the ball's going. Catcher doesn't know. No.
The pitcher doesn't know.
No, they have no idea. They just throw it, and whatever happens, happens.
I think that maybe Ayami should start working on that knuckleball.
Or she probably has one in her repertoire, but doesn't want to bring it out yet. So it may come down.
She's saving it.
Come down soon.
Okay. Wow. You mentioned Phil Niekro, and I believe, technically speaking, the first Blue Jay in the Hall of Fame was Phil Niekro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there should have been more, but and he was fantastic.
Should have been more. Is that you telling me what I believe to be true as well, which is Dave Stieb should be in the Hall of Fame?
Dave Stieb, Joe Carter. There's a lot of Toronto Blue Jays. Carlos Delgado that should be easily in the Hall of Fame when you do comparables of numbers now. And for some reason, they got a handicap because they played for Toronto. Because Americans don't know where Toronto is. They wish Toronto never had a team. So it's something that kind of pisses them off that amazing baseball players played for Toronto outside of America. You think that there was no world outside America the way they think. So it's difficult, but somebody they have a committee now of baseball players that can put these other guys in that should be there, and guys like Dave Stieb and Joe Carter. And generally, they base it on like a 10-year portion of your career if you were dominant. And I would say Dave Stieb in the '80s was one of the most dominant pitchers besides Jack Morris, and Joe Carter, the late '80s and all in the '90s was the most dominant RBI guy. Guy that was clutch. World Series home run, 2 World Series. Like, what the heck does the guy got to do to get into the Hall of Fame, man?
Well, I'm going to use this opportunity to promote the fact that thanks to Rod Black, who I'm actually going to bring him up in a moment too, I will be recording live from the Joe Carter Classic and get Joe back on Toronto Mic'd. And I'm 100% with you, Rob. And again, I don't know baseball like you do. I'm not even going to pretend I can compete with Rob Butler when it comes to baseball knowledge. But I think you're 100% right about Dave Stieb and Carlos Delgado. I believe those two should be in the Hall of Fame. But based on what I've seen when they look at WAR and different modern analytics like that, Joe Carter is probably better suited for the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah, so that's the argument people have. But when you have a guy who 10 years in a row, he played for the Cleveland Indians for a long time, and that was the dump of like stadiums and baseball and tough place to play, cold all the time. like the things he did there before he came to the Jays was incredible. So he had a dominating 10 years where he had 100 RBIs in a row. I think he was one of like very few guys who've done that, where he had so many ribbies every year for a
Right.
consistent. And that's a hard thing to do. Whatever team you're on, driving in runs is difficult. You ask anybody who plays baseball, it's hard to hit with guys on base, right? And he had the right mentality. And I mean, I'm a believer. And you say when you do the golf thing with him, but because that's what he called me all the time. But you'll know exactly what you're talking about. But said you should be in the Hall of Fame, like the actual Major League Hall of Fame. And see what he says. He'll be like, who? But oh yeah, Butler. That's right.
Unless we forget, because you were there, Mr. Butler. This man has the biggest hit in Blue Jays history. He, what we would have called, if we had the nomenclature of the time, we would have called it a walk-off to clinch a World Series. You were there. You've got a ring. And because you mentioned the Cleveland baseball team, I have to play this.
No Cleveland, no Bowie.
Shout out to Michael Williams, VJ great. Okay.
I remember him. That was guy. I used to listen to him all the time. That guy's great.
Okay. Here's a funny thing. Michael Williams called me like last week. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago now. Time is a blur to me now. But he's like, Mike, they're going to add you to a mural at a laundromat. And you need to be there for this event. And he kind of says all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, neato. Fine. Then I kind of forgot about it, to be quite honest. And then the VP of sales showed me that there's flyers promoting this event, which is like $60 a ticket. And I'm on the flyer.
Wow.
So I feel like
CNN to the flyer in the laundromat. That's fantastic.
Like I'm thinking, I should probably show up at this thing. They put me on the flyer, but like I just had this one quick call from Michael Williams. So apparently I'm on a mural in a laundromat and I'm supposed to be at this event. So I'll try to figure out more, but I just thought I'd give you a heads up there.
That's very cool. I'm not even on a mural in my own family house. There's not one picture of me around. It's everybody else but me. So maybe I'll end up in a laundromat.
Listen, there's probably a mural of you in Butlerville.
Oh, yes, definitely. I would say definitely in Butlerville. They're hardcore for the Butlers down there. I got to tell you. And I went there last year. My dad had a heart attack, and I went there, and it was just like it was honestly like I was there in '93. The whole place looks the same. Everybody looks the same. You know what I mean? They still talk the same. They talk to me like I played baseball yesterday. So it was it's a great place, man. I can't say enough about Butlerville and what that means to my family and me.
Well, we got a mural of you in Butlerville, but there should be one in East York. Like, is there no statue of the Butler brothers in East York?
Well, they did put my name up at the field that I grew up in. Finally, yeah. So that's there. Stan Waddle. They've put my number 34. I finally made it. One of the first people to be put on one of their diamonds. So I feel very honored about that. I feel very lucky that I grew up in East York and played baseball there. I wouldn't have been a baseball player if I didn't. So it was nice that they did that for me.
Can I ask you about this controversy that I caught wind of between you and the aforementioned Keith Stein, who owns Toronto Maple Leafs baseball? So do I have this right? You correct me now on the record here. You know I don't do any edits and posts, so here you go. But is it right that you wanted to start Sato opening day, which was last Sunday, and Keith didn't think she was ready, or there's too much pressure? Like, what is the definitive story there?
Well, I think that, the whole gung-ho to get her here, to have a woman on the team. She's the best in the world, 6 world championships, MVP. Keith was very excited about all of that happening until it got closer to happening. Then it became oh no, Rob, what are we doing? Do we start her? Should we put her in the bullpen? And I was like, no, we're going to start her. And I think he thought about that, and it kind of, he got a little more worried. He got a little more scared about his, what he had created here. Everybody gets a little self-doubt. And I had to remind him that, when you bring someone in of her stature and what she's done, she deserves to start. So we battled a little bit about it, right? He was a little upset. I think he called me a name once. He called me a crazy newfie and a half mohawk. What are you doing, man? So we, it was definitely a disagreement that became the greatest thing that ever happened to Keith. Man, does he look like a hero for bringing her here. And me just being a supportive, good employee made it happen for him to make him look good by putting her out there first. The crowd came to see her, and the crowd went home pleased. So it was a genius move by both of us in the end.
And hopefully the crowd is back this coming Sunday to see if she can continue her. So it's okay. So back to the other Leafs, who are the opposite of your Leafs, because the other Leafs is breaking my heart here. Okay, but the other Leafs were facing Bobrovsky, who had quite a lengthy shutout streak going until the kid. I almost called him Robertson. Okay, Nick Robertson scored like late garbage goal in the end. It didn't matter at that point. It was 6-0 or something for the Panthers, but like it ended the Bobrovsky shutout streak. And I'm wondering if people, what I'm telling people to do is fill the hill on Sunday and watch Sato go a little longer than the 2 innings and see how long she can keep this streak going. It's unbelievable. So I'm throwing in that promo, but I'm just going to switch it over to Keith for a minute here. So, do you think Keith, I shouldn't speak for Keith. I can get Keith on Toronto Mike and ask him. He's going to get Gene Simmons on Toronto Mike for me. They're buds, okay? But do you think Keith was worried she might get lit up?
That's good baseball terminology right there. One that a pitcher never wants to hear about. Yes, definitely worried about her getting lit up. I think a lot of people are worried about her getting lit up. I even think some of her teammates are worried about her getting lit up. But I think that when someone who is a true champion at any level, wherever you are, you can translate that and transfer that into another level, another league. Like most guys who make it to the majors, you got to realize you don't just get to the majors. You got to do A ball and then another level of A ball. You're constantly going up levels. You're being challenged, right? Double A, triple A, and then the major leagues. So I think that for her and being used to playing regular Japanese baseball wherever she grew up to being on the national team, she's used to jumping up and reaching those levels, right? So this is why she's special, and she proved why she's special. So to go out there and do what she did in front of all those people with no warm-up, basically no warm-up. Yeah. I mean, the woman went out there and had to do 100 interviews, probably not understanding what half the people are saying because her interpreter wasn't always around her. And stressed beyond belief, I think, although she never shows an ounce of stress. It's probably why she still looks like she's 20 years old. And to still do that and perform that well, it's incredible. It really is incredible. Something to be really proud of and something I'm really proud to be part of.
And for the record, she's 35 years young. 35
years. Yeah, you would never think that. She's so agile and mobile and athletic, and her skin. She looks really good, man. She's doing her thing, and whatever her secret is. God, I think I would love to know what she's doing. That's her.
You never had a doubt, eh? Is this right? Like you didn't have a doubt. Like, what if she throws one of those 76-mile-an-hour fastballs? And because the caliber of baseball at Chrissy Pitts, just so the listenership knows, because I watched a lot of games last year. Obviously, this isn't Major League Baseball, obviously, but these guys can play. Like these guys can hit. You and your brother played there, and we talked about that earlier, but you sit on like one of these 75-mile-an-hour fastballs, you might hit that thing to, Bloor and Bathurst or something, right? Like you had no doubts.
Well, everybody has a little bit of doubt. That's what doing anything in life is. You wake up, sometimes you got doubt, and you got to overcome that doubt, or that doubt has to be overcome for you. So always in the back of my mind, I was definitely worried for her, 100%. I was worried for the whole thing not working out. Everybody, I think it's natural and normal, but I was positive for sure. I was more positive than a lot of people. I think me and Keith were probably the most positive about it. So but I think that the whole point of being an athlete is, again, you got to prove people wrong, right? I've had to prove many managers wrong that I belonged, even in A-ball, even getting signed, even getting to the Olympics, even doing anything that I did. Right. And I thought that giving her an opportunity would be to prove us all wrong. And I think that she did that, because the thought of women being better than men pisses off a lot of people, man. The supposed, truest of sports don't think this should happen. And she proved them way wrong. Even if it doesn't work out from this point on. She did it. She proved it for those 2 innings, and it can happen.
I witnessed it. It happened. They can't take that away from her.
Exactly. Same way, you get 1 or 2 at-bats in a World Series. You go 1 for 2, you bat 500. No one can take that away from you.
Well, okay. So I have a few more places. You've been awesome here. But one place I want to go, because you dropped it in the intro and I meant to get back to it, is And I don't think I fully realized that Rob Butler has 0 Major League Baseball home runs. Like, any regrets that you didn't get that one chance to round the bases?
You know what, Mike? I need therapy again. You're going to put me in therapy. Thank you.
This is cheaper than therapy.
I get to express my disdain at myself for not having, it's funny. When I was coming through the minors, I was a singles hitter. I always was, right? And I was the guy told to get on base I was a leadoff hitter. I was told to get on base. I wasn't a Ricky Henderson leadoff hitter where, had 21 leadoff home runs in your career. I was told to get on base, and it worked for me. I won a couple batting titles in the minors, hitting a lot of singles and some doubles and stealing a lot of bases, scoring runs. And then when I got to the majors, I have no problem admitting it. I was definitely more defensive. I was more worried about striking out. So I cut my swing down too much. If I could go back and do it over again, I would honestly definitely try to drive the ball more. I would take more risk and do it. But I really felt at the time that for me to stay on the team, because you're always worried about getting cut. Like, for me, there was no money invested in me. I thought I was going to get cut after every game, right? You're always looking over your shoulder. Oh, God, who's coming to get me? And so I always wanted to try to hit 300, singles, blah, blah, blah. Whereas my brother, on the other hand, totally different. He's like, I'm going deep every swing, which is why he has Major League home runs, which is why he hit a home run off of Roy Halladay. You know what I mean? Totally different mindset. It's all in the mindset. I didn't have it quite when I was playing in the majors, for sure.
It's like Field of Dreams, right? When Moonlight Graham gets into that game, but he doesn't get the at-bat, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of that I missed out on something that if I played a little bit more in that mindset of screw you, I'm going to try and go deep on a fastball here sometimes. And I probably should have done that anyways, but it was my mindset and the way I went about it. And I got my 54 hits in the majors, I believe I got. So that's 54 more hits that I ever dreamed I would get, whether they're home runs or not. It was magic for me. So I'm happy with it.
Quick shout out to Burt Lancaster. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home, but Burt Lancaster he played Moonlight Graham in Field of Dreams. And even saying that sentence to you, I got these like goosebump chills by how much I love that scene with Moonlight Graham coming to save the daughter who was choking on a hot dog. So now you got me thinking of Field of Dreams, and I might need some therapy as well.
Well, we all cry when we watch that movie. I remember my dad never played catch with me, but he would throw he tried to throw batting practice actually to me once. So my father son moment was my dad drilling me in the ankle with his first pitch in batting practice, and BP was over. And Dad was never allowed to throw BP to me ever again.
Okay, that'll be the less successful sequel we'll make. Hey, Rob, do you know and again, another question for Keith Stein, but he's not on this Zoom, you are, but is Sato signed beyond this season? Like, does she have a 1-year contract to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, she's only signed for this year. Everybody kind of goes year by year in the IBL. Right? There's no guaranteed long-term contracts, because we would all do that for sure, 100%. So it's definitely this year by year.
Do you now here again? I'm gonna put on my. I'm gonna stir some shit here because I know a lot, right? I'm surveying all this stuff, but I see pieces, and I've always had this gift. That's how I got to be on CNN. Okay, I can see how all the pieces fit together here. But there is a women's pro baseball league launching next year. Are you aware of this?
Yes.
And are you aware of Keith Stein's involvement in the Women's Pro Baseball League?
I wouldn't be surprised if Keith owned the whole damn thing. Right. And it's like the architect of it all coming together.
So again, I think a lot of the she's going to get lit up stuff wasn't so much the He-Man Woman Haters. That was a song by Extreme on Porno Graffiti. He-Man Woman Hater, okay? I think it's more like, remember Manon Rhéaume? Am I saying her name? Yeah, like, right, the goalie for Tampa Bay who only played exhibition games, never got into a NHL regular season game. But that was clearly like Esposito had a PR stunt to get Floridians interested in hockey, which is no small feat. But where I'm going with this is, I think some people were sensitive to this being a PR stunt. Like, oh, you signed a woman to pitch for the Maple Leafs. Oh, she didn't earn it. This is a PR stunt. We saw on Sunday she absolutely belonged. She was lights out. I can't wait to watch her on Sunday. This is real. But do you think Keith brings her over for the Toronto Maple Leafs and she ends up being a star of the Women's Pro Baseball League that's launching next year?
Definitely. I definitely think there's a massive tie into that because look at the attention that's brought for the league. Like Keith, this isn't Keith's first rodeo on how to promote things and get things going, right? He's so good at what he does. So, and that's why he's successful. And people with that kind of mindset, I mean, his friends are Gene Simmons and, Snow. The guy knows everybody. Like, he
Oh,
knows
yeah,
everybody.
we're gonna get to Snow. That's a Toronto Mike friend. Maybe
Yeah.
now we'll get to that because I'm taking credit
Okay,
for
yeah.
that one.
Yeah, so but he knows so many people. He has so many connections for a reason. He's a go-getter for sure. He's fearless for 100% fearless, except for when he wanted her to be in the bullpen instead of starting. Then he lost his balls for a minute, but he grew back. He grew them back. They're fully intact. So he's back in he's back in line. So he's good to go. But yeah, it's definitely gonna. I mean, everyone's been talking about her, what she's done, and the woman, and every chance they get, they talk about that new league that's coming. So I believe it's going to be successful. They have massive tryouts happening all over America. And I know for sure there's tons of Canadian women who want to get involved in play. So it's going to be big. It's going to be actually very big.
So Keith is playing 3D chess here, right? Like bring her from Japan to Toronto, which is, she told me, I was at that media event at Left Field Brewery in Liberty Village, and she said via translator that it's the first time that she ever lived outside of Japan. Like, so she's now living in Toronto, pitching for you. We're going to see her Sunday. And I believe this is absolutely that you sadly, we will lose her to the Women's Pro Baseball League unless Toronto's getting a franchise, which I'm unaware of, which maybe you know better than I do. But it sounds like this is the next move for Ayami Sato.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Toronto doesn't have a park to play in. I think that's their problem. There isn't a little stadium with 5,000 seats that the Leafs and a women's professional league could play in. So I think there's their sticking point there. There's nowhere to put this team. So if they're to find a way to make a stadium, I'm sure there's people who want to support women's sports and women's baseball, that Olivia Chow and some people will get together and make this happen, because there is a league coming, and then you're going to need a 7th or 8th team, and one should be in Canada for sure.
Yeah. We just to jump in there as a unofficial mayor of Toronto. By the way, I met Olivia Chow for the first time on Sunday. Like the first time I had a conversation with her was Sunday. I just think that's a fun fact. Okay. We should build a quaint ballpark for our women's team in the Portlands, and possibly, and I'm not trying to mess with this wonderful thing at Christie Pitts, which is unbelievable that you can sit on that hill and watch professional baseball while you drink a beer. Like, it's unbelievable. But maybe the Maple Leafs of baseball can share this Portlands stadium with the new women's pro baseball league team in Toronto. And maybe this is the grand vision of this man playing 3D chess with us, Keith Stein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely getting the word out more and getting more people interested, and Sato coming and doing as well as she did and being the person that she is, definitely will bring interest to it. And I really believe that everybody wants to see something different in the city. And I think women playing sports, women playing baseball has become such a massive thing with the hockey and some of the other sports that they're now starting to form. Basketball is doing amazing. Baseball will do the same. We all watch the League of Their Own. We all know there was a league back in the day, and it was fantastic. It was so competitive. Like, these girls were amazing. If you think about it, in the 40s and the 50s, how good they were, that it for sure can happen. And now the girls are way more athletic than they've ever been. And they're grittier, they're grinders, they're dirtbag baseball players, just like the men. So why wouldn't a team come to Toronto and a league be successful?
Oh, we would embrace that team, and I can already visualize the merch, and we got it. So this is all part of this grand plan. We're speculating. We don't have any announcements to make. But when you lose Sato to this women's pro baseball league, the guy who comes in to fill that PR void, I'm telling you, we need to make it happen now. When will we see Joey Votto playing for the Maple Leafs at Christie Pitts and then this new stadium we're going to build?
Well, if we can get him away from playing chess in Etobicoke, he may come out and play a few games of baseball. I don't know. I used to throw batting practice at Joey, and I mean, he wanted to play in Toronto so bad. He wants to play baseball in Toronto. Yeah. So anything could happen. But these guys, after their career like they need a couple of years to wind down, kind of like Rodney with Hamilton now. They need a little time to miss baseball. And this is the closest thing to facing guys who are throwing hard enough where it's competitive and fun, and there actually is some dignity and integrity about it. Like, it's not slow pitch where, as much as I love playing slow pitch, it's still not baseball, right? It's not a baseball coming at you 90 miles an hour, which is what Joey Votto would want to see.
So stay tuned because then Joey Votto finally makes his Toronto Mike debut. So on that note, quick pause to tell you, Mr. Butler, that if you were back in the basement, I would be giving you a wireless speaker from Anaris so you could listen to season 8 of Yes, We Are Open. And I'm going to just tell you about the most recent episode that dropped. Al Grego sat down with Grant Frew, not to be confused with Grant Fuhr or Alan Frew. So his name is Grant Frew. He's the bar and marketing manager at Bushwhacker Brew Pub in Regina, Saskatchewan. Grant recounts Bushwhacker's unique German beer-inspired roots and how it evolved to become a staple in Regina's brewing culture. You got it, Rob?
I love it. And it's funny, you say Regina, Saskatchewan. I played baseball in Regina, Saskatchewan against the Toronto Blue Jays. I went to a program in Vancouver called the NBI, National Baseball Institute, in 1989. I was 19 years old. Just come back from Australia. Boxing Day, the Blue Jays call me and say, why don't you go to this program out and get some training in to see if you can develop into a professional. Anyways, went to high school there, did this program. Our fundraising exhibition game was against the Toronto Blue Jays. They came and played. They flew into Regina, played against us in a little football stadium. I had to face Tom Henke.
Wow.
My first at bat was against Tom Henke. Tom Henke was actually in a slump, if anybody could believe it. He was slumping a little bit. And he got out of that slump pitching against our little Canadian National Baseball Institute team. I had an 8-pitch at bat against him. He was trying to throw his 95-mile-an-hour fastball by me. He couldn't do it. So he ended up throwing his forkball, which I then swung and missed by about 3 feet. But I gave him a little tell. He actually looked at me kind of funny when I was walking out the field. He struck me out. He kept looking at me, and I was like, oh, Tom Hinkey's looking at me. It's actually funny. Went on a tear after that. So we got him straightened out. So anyways, that was my first Toronto Blue Jays in a game, was against them, facing Tom Henke, 19 years old, in Regina, Saskatchewan.
I love that story. Amazing. And I bet you spent a little time at Bushwhacker Brew Pub in Regina, possibly.
No.
No.
I will if I would. If I could, I would.
Well, they're not sponsors of Toronto Mike, although I will be listening to that episode. Yes, we are open. But if you are, and you know this, if you're going to drink craft beer. And I say this with all due respect to the wonderful people at Left Field Brewery, who are the official beer of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. The official beer of Toronto Mike is Great Lakes beer. And I'm inviting you, Rob. I'm inviting Sherry. I'm inviting Keith Stein. I'm inviting Ayami. Everybody is invited to Great Lakes Brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard on June 26th from 6 to 9 p.m. for TMLX 19. Great Lakes will buy you your first beer, and then Palma Pasta will feed you. It's going to be a great night.
They should make an Ayami beer. One thing I will say, she loves beer.
See, I would make that happen today if you didn't have the conflict with the fact your official craft beer is not Great Lakes.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of them has to make an Ayami beer. They'll make a fortune.
Keith is probably already on that because that'll be a Left Field thing. But we drink Great Lakes around here, of course. Shout out to Left Field Brewery. Last but not least, recyclemyelectronics.ca. I know you've got old cables hanging around the Butler home there. You got to drop it off at a place to be properly recycled so that those chemicals do not end up in our landfill. So you're going to go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. And the most recent episode prior to this one of Toronto Mike, I was coached by Nick Iones. It was an episode of the Building Success Series podcast that Nick has, and it's a wonderful podcast. And I really do encourage people to listen to Nick Iones coaching me on how to generate more revenue from TMDS. And I think number one on that list is triple your rates with Keith Stein. So it was good advice from Nick Iones.
Genius move. I don't know if you're going to get that, but you know what? It's good. You can always ask. You can
All
always
right.
say no.
Here is the ask of you. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. You've been amazing. What was your relationship like with Cito Gaston?
Cito. Cito was my hero growing up. Definitely someone that I watched and wanted to learn from as a baseball player. I copied baseball. I copied the Toronto Blue Jay hitters all the time. I was Jesse Barfield. I was George Bell. I was Rand Smolnick. I was Garth Orge. So me and my brother imitate all these guys, simulating that we were being coached by Cito because we figured if this works for them, it's going to work for us. So we did this. And then Cito became my manager. And so someone as a manager is different, right? Managing, players is difficult. And, I found that Cito was, for me, difficult, not easy to play for. Definitely. I think maybe because I was from Toronto and I may have had too much admiration. And you know what I mean? So it made me nervous. I wasn't able to communicate with him properly. I felt like I wasn't, I just felt like, it's kind of like, with your dad, you don't feel like you're good enough sometimes. Your dad can make you feel like, I'm not quite good enough for this house. And there was times where I felt like that. And I really wish I could go back in time and talk to him more about that, right? Go into his office and say, hey, man, I'm scared shitless out here. I don't want to feel scared. I don't want to be scared of you. Like, I want you to, help me if I'm struggling, if there's something, you know what I mean? So it was difficult. And I found that sometimes with the younger guys, it was a little bit difficult because he's an old school guy. Unbelievable knowledge, unbelievable ability to coach Joe Carter's and Roberto Alomar's and, Tom Henke's and Dwayne Ward's and, George Bell, like these big ego guys that are hard to manage. And, how do you make all those guys have Tony Fernandez, who is constant, you know what I mean? So how he was able to do that, which is why he should be in the Hall of Fame. He won 2 World Series with 2 of the best teams on the planet, but he's a huge part of that, right? So for him to be able to do that, he deserves that. For me, it also lies on me to say that, again, I should have went to him and said, hey, man, I need help here. I never did that. So there was a miscommunication. You know what I mean? I had a chance to be with him at the Conn Smythe dinner, and we talked for 3 hours. And my perspective of Cito it was like an enlightening for me. A great time to finally say, this is what I was feeling. And, he even said, Rob, sometimes when you're coaching and you're managing, you want your guys to not feel coddled. You don't want them to be babied, right? So, but I wanted to be babied. I needed to be babied. So it was like, and I'd never wanted that before from any coach, right? No way. I didn't even want my coaches talking to me. But for some reason, I wanted to see those attention. And it was difficult. So it was difficult for me to be from Toronto, grow up in Toronto, be the massive Blue Jay fan I was, a massive fan of Cito, and then become a player. Like, you can't even describe what those emotions and feelings are, because when you talk to Major League Baseball players, if you were to say, what's the one thing you would not want to do? Play in my hometown. They all say it. I do not want to play in my hometown. Because when they do go to their hometown for 3 days, they can't wait to get the hell out of there because it's too much, right? There's distractions. And so that was difficult for me. And that was the only thing that I would say that I missed out on when I became a Toronto Blue Jay. Nobody kind of prepared me for what I was going to do. It was like, you're here, best of luck to you, man. Whereas, John Oliver would say, Rob, it took me 5 years to get comfortable here. These guys expect you to be comfortable in 7 games. Right? It's not going to happen, Rob. Like, he was one of the only guys who kind of described to me what he went through. The other guys were kind of doing their thing and being professional and, living their, a lot of them had already played 5-6 years in the majors. They'd already been through what I was just beginning to do. And none of them had really experienced being a hometown baseball player. I had to do all that with very, very little mentorship, very little experience. And I had Cito as my coach, who was under huge pressure, right, to keep winning and to keep putting a team out there that was going to win. So, the mix was difficult at the time. I understand it now, being a coach myself and a more mature person, and I don't know. Like, I sometimes, you wish you could just press the button, go back and do it over again, because you know what you know now. It's sad it didn't happen that way for me.
Rob, I talk to athletes now and then, and you don't get as insightful in raw and honest an answer as that typically. Like, I really appreciate that. Was a real answer to that question.
Yeah. Well, you know what? What have I got to lose, man? What are you going to do? Fire me?
But so I'm going to title this episode Rob Butler on Sato, Cito. Those names are very similar. Sato, yeah. Cito, and Snow. More on that in a moment. But you're going to be kind of working with Cito a little bit again, because I know from Keith Stein that Cito Gaston, as you know, he was announced as an ambassador of sorts of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. So I believe he'll be in town in June, because I've been promised to sit down with him on Toronto Mike, which I can't wait to chat with him. Like, you're going to be involved with Cito again.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for it, honestly. Since I had the Conn Smythe talk, I'm ready for it and totally fine. I believe, I know what he's there. I know what he's there for. I know how much the people in Toronto adore him. He's going to bring people out. I mean, if you don't love Cito Gaston as a Torontonian baseball fan, then who are you going to love? The guy was a fixture for so long, since like 1982, I believe. I'm pretty sure I was 12 years old when he first came to the Jays. and made a huge mark on the team, right? His stature, his calm, his quietness, his love of the players. Like everybody loved him. And Cito would tip his. I mean, I still remember Cito tip every time Cito kind of came out of the dugout. Whenever he did, the whole place would erupt. 50,000 people would scream, "There's Cito!" So I think it's another huge move by Keith to bring in such an icon of Toronto in, a guy who, I mean, what he's been through as a baseball player and then as a manager and as a hitting coach, and I mean the ups and downs, even with the Blue Jays after the World Series wins. I mean, he's got so much story to tell about baseball life that I think the park should be filled when he comes down for sure.
So Cito is on the level of excellence at the Dome, but he's not in Cooperstown. He's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Should he be on that list with Dave Stieb and Carlos Delgado of Blue Jays, who should be in the Hall of Fame but are somehow being suppressed because they played in this wonderful country of Canada?
I think Cito working for the Blue Jays definitely hurt him as a manager. They have I know they did an I don't know what you call election or whatever the heck it was where you vote on these guys to get in, and he missed out, and he shouldn't have missed out, right? But it's a Toronto handicap again, because he did some things that were incredible, right? To win 2 World Series, I believe he was the first Black manager to do that, which is just incredible. With the hurdles they have to overcome, that they had to overcome to be playing in baseball, which is a joke. Should have been from day one when the game was created. But for him to overcome all those things as a player that he lived through, he talked about he was Hank Aaron's roommate and some of the things that he endured as a baseball player back in the 60s and 70s. And then to go on and be a great manager that he was and to manage teams, because people handicap him too, because they think because he had Roberto Alomar and Dave Stieb and Tom Henke and Joe Carter and Devon White in the team, that's why we won. But it was really Cito, because it's the leaders that carry you over the top, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team don't have that leadership that can carry them over the top, and you can see it. When you're lacking a leader, you don't win. The Blue Jays had a leader, and Cito was him. Like, every player would say that. You ask Alomar, you ask Joe, because of Cito. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
You referenced earlier, Cito had to manage these egos, and there may not have been a bigger ego in Major League Baseball than the late, great former teammate of yours, Rickey Henderson. Any thoughts? I think this is the first time we've talked since Rickey passed away. Any thoughts on what it was like to play with Rickey?
Well, when you play with Rickey, you realize that you throw everything that anyone has said about him right out the window, because none of it is true. His reality, the reality of his personality is not what people think. To be as good as he was cocky, 100%. He truly believed he was the best out there, and he was, right? There's no better leadoff hitter in the history of the game. Not even close can anybody come to this guy. With stolen bases, runs scored, damage he did in playoffs, right? He is a menace, and he did it for so long. So it's people who, for some reason, want this perfectly molded human to be humble, to be constantly saying things about other people, but also play great. For Rickey to play great, Rickey had to be what seemingly seemed like this overly cocky person, but he wasn't at all. He's not like that at all. He's actually kind of like laid back, a little bit insecure, afraid of fear. The fear of failing was huge in him, right? He wanted to be the best at all times, which is truly what drove him. So I think the misconception of the way he was, even for me, I didn't know until I stood on left field talking to him, right? We were both left fielders. Obviously, I was kind of his caddy, carrying around, whatever he needed, because I was the 4th and 5th outfielder. But he was so good and didn't even really know why he was so good. He was just that good naturally. But you ask him, what's the secret of stealing bases? Hey, man, you just go. You just go. Like, there's no real trick to this. There's no rocket science, right? How are you such a good person at getting on base and taking walks? You just see the ball, man. You see the ball. Like nothing was because I'm the best, because I'm stronger, I'm fat, none of that. It was such basic, simple things, and that's how he played baseball. He kept it really simple, and he had unbelievable talent, and it just came across as somebody that was overly cocky. Because a baseball player doesn't owe anybody anything. A baseball player doesn't owe a baseball fan an autograph, a conversation. You don't owe them anything. You're buying a ticket to watch them play baseball, and that's it. But some fans want more. They want a piece, right? And then when they don't like that piece, they go and tell everybody that guy's an asshole when he's not, right? Rickey was actually a great teammate. He would buy you dinner. He would buy, if you needed something, he'd do it for you, right? Dave Stewart was just as cocky, but nobody ever said that about him. I think because they're afraid he gets punched out or his laser beams come out of his eyeballs and zap you. But what I mean? The same kind of confident athlete, but viewed differently. It's interesting, right? It's just interesting the way people perceive. But I love both those guys. I mean, Dave Stewart bought me he bought my first pair of cleats when I got to the Blue Jays. When I got called up, we were in Tiger Stadium, and I was sitting on a milk carton for a chair, and he looked at my cleats from AAA and was like, "Butler, where'd you get those cleats?" And I was like, "I didn't even know." But my toes were actually sticking out of them. My toes had worn through them. And he was like, "That ain't going to work. That ain't going to work in the big leagues." And I had 2 pairs of ponies in my locker the next day. Something that I didn't know happened back then either. Within like 24 hours, I had 2 pairs of brand new shoes from Dave Stewart, which is like the ultimate dream for a rookie baseball player. Like someone giving you something that I didn't recognize that I had bad shoes on, but he did. And he took care of me.
That's a mind-blow story.
Yeah, it's cool. My wife likes to tell that story too. Because Lloyd Mosby has the same story. Dave Stewart bought him his first pair of cleats as well. Way, way back in the day. Yeah. We have the same kind of similar story.
But you'd think, like, what do I know? I have to buy a ticket to see that team. But like, you'd think that when you are called up to the show, another Kevin Costner movie. He does a lot of great baseball movies. But when you're called up to the show, you'd think the team would give you like new cleats.
Nope. No new cleats. No new glove. Just you, man. Because most players want to play with their stuff, right? And for me, my shoes have been on so long in AAA, and I didn't even really realize that they were scuffed up so bad. Like, you don't get your shoes cleaned in AAA. In the major leagues, they clean your shoes after every game, which I thought was weird. I didn't want clean, shiny shoes. I like my shoes nice and dirty. Right. So, they do give you a bat. They'll give you your own bat with your name on it, which was really nice. My bats didn't say Pro Stock anymore. They actually said Rob Butler. Wow. So it was actually nice to get a bat with my name on it.
Hey, one quick last thought on the late, great Rickey Henderson, who I kind of liked his swagger. I always liked it when the best, he knew he was the best, but he backed it up on the field. So like he had this like swagger, but like you said, there was no better leadoff batter in Major League history. Nobody stole bases like Rickey Henderson. Like the proof was in the pudding, right? So I'm wondering how much credit should he be receiving? I think he's probably not getting enough credit actually, but how much credit should he get for doing his dance on second base and getting in the head of Wild Thing Mitch Williams when Joe Carter is at the plate?
Well, Rickey was in everybody's head when he played. He was like the menace of the base paths. So for sure, any time in the World Series, because he did that thing to Mitch Williams at home plate where he stepped out of the box, Mitch kind of came set with his head down, and when he would deliver the pitch, he would look, and there was like no one there. Rickey had stepped out on him, and that was all planned, right? So he got on base with 4 straight balls, and then was like, Mitch was done. Like he couldn't figure it out. He was so worried about, because we're winning. They were winning only 6-5. Rickey was the tying run, and he was terrified that he was going to come around and score. So he was totally distracted by Rickey, and that was what his other part of his job, which was incredible. He made him make a mistake. So
you're about to wrap up with a mind blow about Sunday, but if you think about it, we've talked a lot about Joe Carter. We talked about Cito Gaston, who thanks to Keith, I'm going to meet him in June and have him on Toronto Mike. He's going to be an ambassador for Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. So again, recap this. Okay, so Joe Carter, Cito Gaston, Rickey Henderson, and Rob Butler. What do those 4 people have in common?
We're all World Series champions.
You're all World Series champions, man. Like, you're a part of that history. And it's funny because we're speaking on May 15th at about noon. Now it's 12:39. We're going to have to wrap soon. But we're chatting now the night after basically like a humiliating, gutless, no-heart loss by the Maple Leafs of hockey in their home arena in a crucial Game 5 against the Florida Panthers. Like, we didn't see anyone step up, no leadership. I mean, Nick Robertson gets the only goal. That's all you need to know about that game, right? Like, we just came off that. And then you think about these champions we had in 92, 93 that you were a part of. And I'm telling you, man, that flag, that championship flag of 92 and 93 that you were a part of, 93s, those flags are going to fly forever. And we'll be talking about this until our last breath.
Yeah, no, I played on a team with true leadership. where guys were going to do whatever it took to win, right? And the guys who you expected to do it did do it, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team doesn't seem to have those guys, and it's difficult. It's difficult to watch. Like Sherry is the ultimate optimist, and she thinks they're going to come back and they're going to win, and she's there cheering them on, all the good little things, and I'm sitting there going, these guys are not going to win. They don't do anything.
No heart.
But I'm a 55-year-old man who has suffered his whole life with Leaf heartbreak, right? Rick Vaive hit the crossbar against the St. Louis Blues in Game 7 back in the 80s, and I've never gotten over it. So my heartbreak goes all the way back to those days with Borje Salming and those guys wanting to win a Stanley Cup and can't do it because it's just something about the Leafs. And now with Marner and Matthews not doing anything, they're the invisible men out there. It's sad because I want leadership to step up. I want them to send Marchand into the boards and do some serious damage, but nobody wants to step up for the Leafs and do this. There's no true captain, no true Leaf player that wants to do that little extra, like the Florida Panthers who have won the Stanley Cup. You can see what it takes to grind it out and do it. They're dirty. They'll cheap shot you. They get in your head. The Leafs don't have that. They just don't have that.
And they've gone all in on Austin Matthews as their leader, their captain. Like they literally, you reminded me when you said Rick Vaive. And I remember that series, right? That was the Blues series that was after we swept the Blackhawks in 3 because it was a best of 5. Do you remember this? Yeah. 86 maybe? Wendell Clark, maybe he was a rookie that year. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. But okay, we died. See, we're way living in the past with that one. But they literally took the C away from local boy John Tavares and put it on the chest of Austin Matthews. They locked him up for the biggest money contract in the NHL long term. Austin Matthews, we've got him for 4 more years, whatever it will be. Now, excellent regular season superstar, puts the puck in the net like nobody in the game today. But when you're for example, when you're in the playoffs, especially the second round, we always have to check the stat sheet. Did Austin play tonight? Did you see Matthews out there? Like, it's really heartless. Meanwhile, we watched the 92-93 Blue Jays, and we watched Alomar step up. We watched Joe Carter step up. I mean, now I'm thinking of Whamco and then Hamcow. We watched Olerud. We watched Pat Borders step up. I'm going to move on very quickly here because I'm not going to do a Leafs hockey rant. But absolutely, it's missing something. We changed the coach. I felt good. The D was improved. I felt good. Stolars, I know he's hurt, but, Wall's been playing fine. I don't put this on him. But things were changed, and it's the exact same result. We're probably bowing out in the second round in 6 games, and that's just not good enough for this team.
No, the top four are not doing enough. They're not doing nearly enough, actually. They're the ones that's supposed to lead us over the top. We should be winning. If they score 6, we should be scoring 7. And that's what true leadership does. They bounce back. They answer. They constantly have an answer. The Leafs have no answer. And with the guys turning into Casper the Ghosts out there, it's just like it's so easy to play hockey against them because they're not doing anything. I haven't seen Matthews unless he's hurt. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe there's something wrong. Then you know what? Fine. We understand. We'll hear about the 3 knee surgeries after the season, and then we're like, oh shit. Well, why was I so mad at him? But then you're like, why is he playing? So then it's we don't know, but something is missing for sure. And there's always been something a little bit missing with the Leafs in the last 20 years. It's so difficult to piece it together, but it generally starts with the captain. And I found that the captains have been kind of weak over the last few years. You want your captain to be like we're used to Wendell Clark, Darryl Sittler, these guys that will score goals and then fight you or send you through the ports. That's what people want to see in hockey. And that's what they want to see from their tough captain, because that's what a lot of the other captains are doing in the league. But the Leafs have been lacking that kind of leadership. Like if somebody touched Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark was erasing your face, right? If somebody hits Matthews or Marner, nobody's erasing anybody's faces. I don't understand. That's my take.
Okay, that's hockey talk with Rob Butler. Okay, but he's managing the other Leafs, not that Leafs. Okay, so this is a really important question as we wind down here. Again, Rob, I always love talking to you, but the next time we talk will be in person because it's even better then. But okay, in 93, the 1993 Blue Jays, you were up in the big leagues. You were there for the World Series. Who chose the music that would be played in the clubhouse for the 93 Blue Jays?
Well, whoever was either pitching that day or the leader on the team. So generally it was Well, we didn't play a lot of music back then. Interestingly, we didn't have a lot of music going on. It didn't really start happening until a little bit after that, but it would have been Joe Carter. It definitely would have been somebody, country music, you know. I mean, I think even Turner Ward put some music on. Rob Butler never had a choice because nobody wanted to listen to 80s music. They wanted to listen to the Spoons, you know, Honeymoon Suite, all the groups I grew up with, right?
Can I tell you something? You just name dropped two bands, FOTM bands, by the way. You name dropped Spoons and Honeymoon Suite.
Yeah.
Next week in the basement is a member of both bands, Rob Bruce.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a keyboardist for the heyday of the Spoons, and then he left the Spoons and joined Honeymoon Suite. Absolutely mind blow that you dropped those two bands of all the bands.
That story, actually. I was always confused as to why that would ever happen, but it's funny. So I'm picking my kid up from school every day, and he wants to listen to Nova Heart, he wants to listen to Burning a lot. Like he's so in love with the 80s as well. A 16-year-old kid. And he's like, why do I love the 80s so much? I said, well, have you seen your dad? So anyways, my son is now also someone who loves the old Canadian bands, which I always put on. Glass Tiger. Oh my God, I love Glass Tiger.
Oh, it's funny. And I dropped an Alan Frew reference earlier.
Yeah, you did actually. Yeah. That's what actually it must have cued back into my brain, but.
Okay, so this will get this episode possibly removed from Spotify. I'm going to have an issue of YouTube, but it's worth it anyways. I'm wondering, did you ever hear this song in 93 when the Blue Jays were about to win their second World Series? Did you ever hear this song in the clubhouse?
What's up, man? Hey, yo, what's going on, yo? I'm sick and tired of 5-0 running up on the block, you know what I'm saying? Yo, Snow, they came around looking for you the other day. Word, bust it.
Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blam. I like you bum bum down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stamp somewhere down the lane. I like you bum bum down. Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blam. I like you bum bum down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stamp somewhere down the lane. I like you bum bum down. Please, I'm gonna come in and they blow down my door. Rain it could pour through my window, so they put me in the back the car at the station. From that point on, I reached my destination. Where the destination region had the east detention. Where them look down my pants, look up my bottom. So Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go glam. I like you boom boom down.
By any chance, was Informer played in the 93 Blue Jays dressing room at some point?
Could have been like that. I listened to it. When we used to go out to places like the Phoenix and the Barracuda, they would play it.
You know, I met my first wife at the Barracuda.
What's that?
I met my first wife at the Barracuda.
Oh, very cool. Nice.
21 Scollard Street.
That was our hangout back in the day, the old Barracuda. We loved going there on Saturday nights.
Do you remember at all, maybe, because you have 5 years on me, so we might have missed this, but do you remember 98-cent beer nights if you bought before 10 p.m. on Thursdays?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We were over. That's when we went Thursdays. We went to the Phoenix, and then we went to, well, we didn't always, I mean, we were, yeah, I guess we had fun in the nights. What the hell? Phoenix, Barracuda, and Whiskey Saigon. Yeah. We went to a lot of places. Me and my brother had a lot of fun.
Did you go to any Chris Shepard live to airs on CFNY?
Yeah, and then there was, oh my God, who was at the Phoenix all the time?
Martin Streak?
Yes.
Marty Streak, who's been gone, sadly, shout out to Bailey Funeral Home. He's been gone 16 years this coming summer.
These guys were all like icons for us when we were in our 20s. So fun times, man. Good times.
Okay, but we're going to close by talking about FOTM Snow, okay? So do you understand the timelines? I'm going to share the timeline, and then we're going to tell everybody what's happening Sunday. And then, again, you've been awesome, and I probably took more time than you had, but I have no regrets, okay? But
all good.
So last Monday, so last week on the Monday, Snow is in the basement here making his Toronto Mike debut.
Wow. Oh, that's impressive.
Dude, you got to listen. It is mind blow after mind blow. It is just a wild experience. I've been telling everybody since that I was hanging with the snowman. I was in his orbit, okay? Shout out to FOTM Paul Farberman, who literally drove him here. So Snow's in the basement. That's Monday. Tuesday, the aforementioned Keith Stein listens to Toronto Mic'd, as he does, and he hears Snow on Toronto Mic'd. And he just texts me an idea he has. I won't get too specific, but it involves snow. It involves the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team. So then I start texting Paul Farberman, the manager of Snow, who's also an FOTM, and we text back and forth. He's a big Leafs hockey fan, so he's heartbroken today. But okay, so we start talking back, and we're talking about specifics and putting something together. And then finally, I'm going to say on the Tuesday, at some point Tuesday, I connect Paul Farberman to Keith Stein, so these two lawyers can work out this deal. And then I'm at Left Field Brewery with you for the press conference. Ayami Sato is there. You're there. I'm there. The VP of Sales is there. Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home is there because Brad and Ridley Funeral Home are also a sponsor of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. And it is announced at this event, which is only 2 days after I connect these gentlemen, Snow is the official ambassador of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. And Informer, that jam, is the song of the 2025 Blue Jays. Sorry, what a slip that is. The 2025 Maple Leafs baseball season. That's how it went down, Mr. Butler.
Love it. That's amazing. I mean, everybody in Toronto knows who Snow is. We all were fans of his music and who he was and his story, where he came from. Because we all kind of like, especially guys in my town where I grew up in Maine and Danforth, we all could have been just like Snow, right? I grew up with the so-called Area 6 rude boys, gangsters who thought that they were, I don't know, running the east end of the city. But these guys were break dancers, and we'd be, they were all our buddies, and we grew up together. So the break dancers would be here, and me and my buddies and my brother would be playing baseball, a baseball game right beside them. And they'd jump in and play some baseball. They'd teach us a few break dance moves. And then they'd go jump over the fence at main subway station and ride the subway and streetcars around town looking for trouble. We all could have ended up like this, but I chose a little calmer path for my life.
Well, I think a lot of credit might go to your dad on that one for keeping you on the straight and narrow path there.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to tell my dad I was hanging out with the break dancers. He would have been pretty upset with me and my brother. They were fun troublemakers.
But I do find your story and Snow's story, as Snow is actually a Darren O'Brien. It turns out Snow was like, I guess they were calling him Snow White because he was a white guy rapping back in the day. But it's interesting, your stories, like that he kind of has a life of like petty crime and thuggery and ends up in jail a couple of times. And you end up playing in Regina against Tom Henke. And you end up on the Blue Jays with a ring. But Informer goes to #1 in the U.S. and stays there for 7 years. And still an iconic song. It has another life in 2019 because Daddy Yankee records Con Calma with Snow. And it's another huge, huge hit. Second biggest hit of Daddy Yankee's career after the Despacito song that was everywhere. So really, you're two different paths, different people, very different mindsets. But my announcement here is that if you come to see the Toronto Maple Leafs play on Sunday and you watch Ayami Sato pitch her second start for the Maple Leafs of baseball, get there a little early. Fill that hill a little early because Snow is throwing out the first pitch.
Wow, that's going to be exciting.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. Hopefully he knows what hand he throws with. I don't know how much baseball he's ever done in his life.
No, he told me on the show. He told me he loved going to the C&E where he would pitch the ball and try to knock down.
That?
Yeah, the milk.
His arm out, the radar gun. Yeah.
He says he was great, and I think he's going to throw some heat.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me because he actually is a very athletic-looking guy. He's not a small guy. Like, he looks big and strong, and still, right? He still looks like he can do some thuggery with a baseball. So we'll see.
I'll be there to witness this. If any FOTMs want to find me at Christie Pitts on Sunday, I'm going to put you in the Snow orbit and introduce you to FOTM Snow, who is probably also going to be at TMLX 19 on June 26th. So I would just say come out for Sato, come out for excellent baseball in Christie Pitts, come out to see how long Rob Butler lets Sato pitch, come out to see Snow. Just come out and enjoy it all. You can have a beer, have a hot dog, take it in. Rob, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'll do it anytime. Anytime. I'll come back to the basement too one day when we win the championship.
You better be down here. Real quick, fun fact question for you on the way out. Rod Black, who interviewed you in 93 after you won that World Series and is now involved with the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. Another connect. I connected Rod to Keith, so I'm taking full credit for that one too.
Beautiful.
Rod Black. Yeah, I'm just here to, this is just to, tell you all the ways I have improved your life, but okay. Rod Black has a son who plays for the Milwaukee Brewers organization. His name is Tyler Black. Rod has another son who's great at baseball. His name is Brody Black. Rob Butler. Did you know Brody Black this season, 2025, is playing with the Brantford Red Sox of the IBL?
Yes, I did actually just learn that. And I'm still trying to figure out how the heck we didn't get him.
100%. This is my question. How is a part owner of the Maple Leafs, Rod Black, how is his son playing for the enemy? Why didn't Brody Black sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
That's a very good question. I'm actually going to have to ask Rod and Brody. I coach both of Rod's boys, so I know them very well. But yeah, that's an interesting one that we will learn and figure it out. I know he's got college. I know he's going back to college early, so he wouldn't be around for us to play in the playoffs anyways. So some of these guys will just pick up on a team that's going to give them lots of playing time and do their things. So maybe that's what's happened for him. But either way, we need one of the black boys on our team, and hopefully Brody or Tyler will one day play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And that, they'll be teammates of Joey Votto is what you're telling me. Okay. And that brings us to the end of our 1,693rd show. Yes, Rob Butler, this cover of Rosie and Gray from Lowest of the Low was put together by the aforementioned Rob Pruce of Spoons and Honeymoon Suite. See how it all comes together?
Okay. Oh my God, my favorite. Thank you for that.
Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, Moneris, Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball, RecycleMyElectronics.ca, Building Toronto's Skyline, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all at 2 p.m. when Cleela Arrington is my special guest. We'll be live streaming that at live.torontomike.com if by some chance you hear this in the next hour. See you all then. Bringing it down, Rob, before we say goodbye, to say that's some spoons right there, Romantic Traffic.
Romantic Traffic, the subway. I still remember the video, like I'm watching it right now.
The Red Rocket.
Red Rocket. That was a good video.